The story begins with a group of fairies flying down to Earth, ready to spend their summer vacation there. Among them is a dustkeeper fairy named Terrence, who excitedly asks his friend Tinkerbell, "Are you ready for your very first summer on Earth?" Tinkerbell smiles and says, "Everything here looks so beautiful. I still can't believe Earth can be this magical." Soon, all the fairies arrive at their summer camp, a secret place hidden deep in nature, because fairies must stay away from humans. Terrence shows Tinkerbell around and says, "These camps are well hidden, just to keep us safe from humans." Tinkerbell is amazed by everything she sees. She eagerly offers to help everyone, but no one seems to need her help. After a while, Terrence tells her, "I have to visit other camps and deliver some fairy dust. I'll see you in a few days." And then he flies away. Feeling curious, Tinkerbell wanders away from the camp. Before she can go too far, Vidia stops her. "Were you about to fly toward a human house?" Vidia asks suspiciously. Tinkerbell quickly lies. "Oh, I didn't even know humans lived around here." Just then, Iridessa gathers all the fairies and warns them, "There are human houses nearby. We have to stay away from them." Silvermist looks up at the sky and says, "I think a storm might be coming tonight." But Fawn laughs. "Are you kidding? The weather's perfect." Fawn is busy painting a butterfly, but it suddenly flies away, spilling color all over its wings. Suddenly, a loud horn echoes through the forest. The camp keeper blows it, and every fairy quickly hides among flowers and leaves, because that horn means a human is near. Tinkerbell climbs up a tall tree to see for herself. From there, she spots a little girl named Lizzy, driving by with her father, Dr. Griffith. Curious, Tinkerbell quietly follows them. Lizzy is thrilled to be back home for summer vacation. As she runs toward the house, she happily says, "I wish summer could last forever." Meanwhile, Tinkerbell is fascinated by their car. She flies under it, examining every detail. That's when Vidia catches up to her. "What are you doing here?" Vidia scolds. Tinkerbell grins. "Look at this machine. It moves all by itself. No horses, no wings. Humans call it a car." Vidia frowns. "You shouldn't be this close to human houses. It's dangerous for us." But before Tinkerbell can respond, she accidentally presses the car's fuel switch, splashing fuel all over Vidia. Back near the car, Lizzy and her dad return to grab their luggage. Lizzy spots the same butterfly that Fawn painted earlier. "Dad, what kind of butterfly is this?" Dr. Griffith examines it carefully and says, its wings are two different colors. I can't quite identify it." Lizzy smiles and says, "Maybe fairies painted it." Her dad laughs softly. "Oh, Lizzy, there are no such things as fairies. They're just a myth." He heads inside, leaving Lizzy a little disappointed. Later, Lizzy asks, "Dad, can we go explore the woods together?" But he replies, "Not today, sweetheart. I have to meet someone tonight for my field journal research. I'll be back before you go to sleep." He waves goodbye and leaves. Meanwhile, Tinkerbell tells Vidia, "Come on, we can fly back now." But Vidia shakes her head. "I can't. My wings are still wet." Tinkerbell sighs. "All right then, we'll walk together." And the two fairies set off on foot. Nearby, Lizzy builds a tiny fairy house under a tree, hoping a real fairy might visit someday. As they walk, Tinkerbell keeps talking excitedly about cars, which starts to annoy Vidia. She tries to fly again, but still can't. Then Tinkerbell spots some shiny shirt buttons on the ground. "Ooh, these will be perfect for the camp," but Vidia tosses them away in frustration. That's when both of them notice a small handmade house nearby, the same one Lizzy built. Tinkerbell flies closer and reads the tiny sign. It says, "Welcome fairies." Vidia warns her, "This house belongs to a human, Tink. You shouldn't go inside." But Tinkerbell doesn't listen. Ignoring the warning, she slowly steps into the fairy house. Vidia, wanting to teach Tinkerbell a little lesson, slams the tiny door of the fairy house shut, hoping to scare her. But Tinkerbell doesn't even flinch. Just then, Lizzy arrives nearby. Vidia panics and whispers, "Someone's coming." She quickly tries to open the door for Tinkerbell, but it's jammed tight and won't budge. Realizing there's no time, Vidia flies off to hide among the leaves. Inside the little house, Tinkerbell starts to panic. She pushes the door again and again, but it's stuck. From outside, Lizzy notices the door shaking. She bends down, peeks through the window, and gasps in shock. There, standing inside her handmade fairy house, is a real fairy. Her eyes widen with excitement. Lizzy can't believe what she's seeing. She runs toward the house shouting, "Dad, do you have to see this?" Vidia secretly follows her. Lizzy drags her father, Dr. Griff, back to the spot, but he's too busy with his notes and hardly looks up. He simply points at a butterfly in his hand and says, "Oh, Lizzy, it's probably just an insect you saw. Maybe like this one." Lizzy stares at the butterfly and falls silent, realizing he doesn't believe her. Without saying another word, she quietly walks away. Vidia watches from a distance as Lizzy heads back inside her house. Upstairs in her room, Lizzy opens the tiny door of the fairy house. Tinkerbell is terrified and tries to escape. Suddenly, Lizzy's cat spots her and leaps toward the tiny fairy. Tinkerbell screams and flies around the room, trying to dodge the cat's claws. To protect her, Lizzy quickly traps the fairy inside a birdcage, just to keep her safe. Then she leaves the room to calm the cat down. Inside the cage, Tinkerbell tries everything to unlock the door, but no matter how hard she pushes, it won't open. Meanwhile, back at fairy camp, Vidia bursts in and yells, "Tinkerbell's been captured by a human." All the fairies freeze in fear. Rosetta, Iridessa, Fawn, Silvermist, everyone gathers around her, shocked. Iridessa asks asks, what happened? How did a human catch her? Vidia explains, she went inside a tiny house. The door locked behind her, and a human took her away. But I know where she is. We have to rescue her. Rosetta steps forward. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go bring her back. They all agree, but there's one big problem. A heavy rainstorm begins pouring down, and the wind is too strong for any of them to fly. Fawn says, we can't fly through this weather. The fields are already flooded. We'll have to find another way. Then Clank gets an idea. If we stitch together large leaves and use some twigs for support, we can build a boat and sail to the human house. The fairies cheer at the idea and immediately get to work, gathering leaves, branches, and vines. Working together, they build a small but sturdy boat, ready to face the storm. The next morning, inside Lizzy's room, Tinkerbell is still trying to open the cage door. Just then, Lizzy quietly walks in, holding a small piece of bread. She kneels beside the cage and says softly, hey there, you must be hungry. She drops the food inside, but Tinkerbell refuses to eat. Feeling guilty, Lizzy gently opens the cage and sets the fairy free. The moment the door opens, Tinkerbell flies out, trying to escape through the window, but it's still shut tight because of the rain. Lizzy raises her hand and says, please don't be scared. I won't hurt you. I love fairies. Beautiful sketches of fairies she's imagined for years. See, I've drawn so many of you. Lizzy asks excitedly, are fairies the ones who paint the butterflies? Tinkerbell nods yes with a warm smile. Lizzy starts asking dozens of questions about fairy dust, wings, the seasons, but all she hears is a soft bell-like chime when Tinkerbell replies. Still, somehow they start to understand each other through gestures. Lizzy proudly shows Tinkerbell the little house she built under the tree. Tinkerbell points at it and gestures. Did you make that? Lizzy nods. Yes, I built it just for fairies like you. Then she asks, so, what's your name? Tinkerbell points to herself and gestures again. Lizzy thinks for a moment, then gasps, Tinkerbell? Tinkerbell smiles and nods. Lizzy beams and holds out her hand. The fairy lands gently on her palm and they shake hands for the very first time. Just then, Lizzy's father knocks on the door and walks in. Lizzy, who were you talking to? Caught off guard, Lizzy quickly says, I was just talking to my drawings. Dr. Griffith chuckles and says, well, I have some old journals that might interest you. They're full of research and field notes. Lizzy asks excitedly, do any of them talk about fairies? He laughs again. No, sweetheart. These are scientific journals, based on facts, not fantasy. Fairies aren't real, remember? He hands her one of the old books and says, you can start your own research in this. Then he leaves for his study. Once he's gone, Tinkerbell looks at Lizzy and gestures, I really like your collection, but I need to go home now. Lizzy frowns sadly, opens the window, but the rain is still pouring down outside. She smiles softly and says, then stay with me, just until the rain stops. I'll show you my whole room. Out in the forest, the fairies continue their journey on the little boat they built to rescue Tinkerbell. As they sail through the rain, they suddenly spot a car passing by on the muddy road. Vidia squints and says, I've seen that car before. That means we're on the right path. Meanwhile, inside the house, Lizzy shows Tinkerbell the tiny home she built for her. Tinkerbell explores every little corner, amazed at how carefully everything is crafted. Lizzy smiles proudly and says, I made everything the size of a real fairy. I want to know everything about your world, how you live, where you come from, even how you're born. Tinkerbell's eyes sparkle as she explains through gestures. When a baby laughs for the very first time, a fairy is born. Lizzy listens with fascination, writing down every single detail in the journal her father gave her, turning it into her own personal fairy research book. Back on the river, Vidia leads the rescue group. She looks around and says, we're getting close. This path leads straight to the human house. But suddenly, Fawn gasps, guys, the boat's heading straight toward a waterfall. All the fairies panic. They try desperately to steer away, but the current is too strong. The boat tumbles down the waterfall, and at the last moment, Silver Mist uses her water powers to lift everyone safely out of danger. As they land, Clank notices something shiny in the mud, a shirt button. Vidia recognizes it immediately. That's Tinkerbell's. We're almost there. Back at the house, the rain finally begins to slow. Lizzy looks out the window and says softly, the rain stopped. You can go home now. She gently hands Tinkerbell a paper umbrella. Here, this will keep you dry. Tinkerbell smiles warmly, but Lizzy's eyes start to fill with tears. She doesn't want her new friend to leave. Tinkerbell hugs Lizzy tightly, then waves goodbye and flies away into the gray morning sky. Heartbroken, Lizzy runs to find her father. Dad, I need to show you something, holding out her diary. But Dr. Griffith is too busy fixing a leak in the ceiling. Not now, Lizzy. I have to stop the water from coming in. Disappointed, Lizzy lowers her book and walks away quietly. In her room, Lizzy opens her diary and stares at the pages filled with fairy notes. Tears roll down her cheeks. Just then, the window creaks open and Tinkerbell flies back in. Lizzy's face lights up. She wipes her tears and says, you came back. But then she sighs sadly. My dad never has time for me. He's always busy with his work. Outside, the fairies continue struggling through the muddy fields. The rain has turned the ground into thick sludge, and Vidia gets stuck deep in the mud. Don't leave me, she yells. The others rush to help, pulling her wings free. Suddenly, a car approaches on the road. Thinking fast, Iridessa shines a bright light into the driver's eyes, forcing him to stop the car in confusion. Hold on to his shoelace, Fawn shouts. She grabs one end, and the others pull tight. As the man starts walking again, the fairies use the movement to yank themselves right out of the mud. That evening, Lizzy and Tinkerbell sit together, sipping tea. The storm outside finally fades into a calm drizzle. After a while, Lizzy falls asleep on the couch. Tinkerbell quietly looks around the room and notices water still dripping from the ceiling. Determined to help, she gathers small tools and leaves, connecting every leak with a makeshift tube system so the water flows safely outside. Just then, she spots a butterfly trapped inside a jar on the table. She quickly opens the lid and sets it free, smiling as it flutters out the window. But the noise wakes Lizzy. Just as her father walks in, Tinkerbell hide. Dr. Griffin looks around in surprise. That's strange. It's still raining outside, but there's no leak in here. How is that possible? Lizzy smiles faintly. She knows Tinkerbell fixed it, but she doesn't say a word. Her father, noticing the open window, frowns and says, "Wait a minute, the butterfly I caught for my research. It's gone." He turns to Lizzy, frustrated. "There's no one here but you and me, Lizzy. Did you let it out?" Lizzy looks hurt. "No, Dad, I didn't." But he doesn't believe her. "Go to your room," he says sternly. "That butterfly was important for my museum work." Lizzy runs upstairs, holding back her tears. She knows Tinkerbell freed the butterfly, but her father would never understand. Back at the fairy camp, some of the fairies laugh nervously and say, "How could anyone possibly catch Tinkerbell?" But Vidia lowers her head and says quietly, "It's my fault. I shut the door on her. I just wanted to teach her a small lesson, but the door got stuck and she couldn't get out. I never meant to hurt her." The others step closer. Rosetta says gently, "If you hadn't been there, Tinkerbell might have gotten herself into even bigger trouble. But now, we'll fix this together." Encouraged, Clank climbs up a big rock with Bobble, and from the top they can finally see it, the human house in the distance. Everyone cheers. They're almost there. Inside the house, Lizzy sits beside Tinkerbell, looking sad. "I keep trying to tell my dad about you, but he never believes me. Sometimes I wish I could fly, just like you, so I could take care of flowers and see the world from up there." Tinkerbell smiles softly. She takes a handful of fairy dust and sprinkles it over Lizzy. Within seconds, Lizzy's feet lift off the ground. She gasps in amazement, floating higher and higher. "I'm flying. I'm actually flying," she laughs, twirling through the air as Tinkerbell giggles beside her. Meanwhile, the rescue team finally reaches the house. Vidia warns everyone. The little girl is kind, but there's also a grown man here. He catches butterflies and keeps them trapped. And there's one more problem. A cat lives here. At the word cat, every fairy freezes in fear. Suddenly, the cat bursts into the room. She spots the fairies and charges straight toward them. Clank barely escapes her claws and jumps onto a stack of plates, sending a cloud of fairy dust spilling everywhere. The dust makes all the plates float into the air. The fairies climb aboard, turning the plates into flying saucers as the cat leaps after them, swatting wildly and sending dishes spinning across the room. The loud crash echoes through the house. Downstairs, Dr. Griffith hears the noise and rushes into Lizzy's room. He stops, shocked. The place looks like a tornado just hit it. Muddy footprints on the ceiling. "Lizzy," he says sternly, "this room's a disaster. And how on earth did you get footprints on the ceiling?" Lizzy takes a deep breath. "Dad, you won't believe me, but I was flying. A fairy helped me." Her father's face hardens. "Lizzy, that's enough. Fairies are just make-believe. You need to stop talking nonsense." "But it's true," she insists. "They're real." She shows him her diary, filled with everything Tinkerbell told her. Griffith flips through the pages angrily. "I gave you this book so you could write down real observations, facts about nature, not childish fairy tales," ripping her precious sketches one by one. Tinkerbell, watching from behind a lamp, feels her anger boil. She flies straight out and circles Griffith's head. Dr. Griffith stumbles back in shock. What is that? A fairy?" Lizzy steps forward and says softly, "Yes, Dad, she's real, and she won't hurt you." Griffith reaches for an empty jar, trying to trap Tinkerbell, but before he can, Vidia darts in front of her. The jar slams shut, trapping Vidia instead. "Let her go," Lizzy pleads. "I'm taking this to the museum," her father says firmly, and rushes out of the house with the jar in hand. Panicked, Lizzy turns to Tinkerbell. "He's taking her to the city. We have to stop him." Just then, the other fairies burst in, riding on the cat's back like a flying chariot. Tinkerbell grins. "Then let's go save Vidia." Iridessa looks outside. "The rain hasn't stopped yet. We still can't fly." Tinkerbell thinks for a moment and says, "Then Lizzy will take us there." The fairies nod. They sprinkle glowing fairy dust all over Lizzy once again, and she lifts off the ground, carrying them into the cloudy morning sky. They soar through the rain. Tinkerbell flies ahead, catches up to the speeding car, and starts tinkering with the engine using her magic dust. Sparks fly, and the car sputters, coming to a stop right in front of the museum. As Griffith steps out, Lizzy lands nearby. "Dad, wait," she calls out. He turns and freezes. His daughter is floating gracefully in the air, glowing with fairy light. For a moment, he can't believe his eyes. Then slowly, a smile spreads across his face. "Lizzy, you're flying," he whispers. She hugs him tightly, tears in her eyes. "Now do you believe me?" Dr. Griffith nods, overwhelmed. He opens the jar and sets Vidia free. The fairies cheer and circle around around them. Tinkerbell sprinkles one last handful of fairy dust, and suddenly Dr. Griffith begins to float too. He laughs in disbelief as he drifts up beside Lizzy, and the two of them glide together through the air, surrounded by hundreds of sparkling fairies. The next morning, the skies are clear. The fairies sit in the garden, sipping tea with Lizzy and her dad. Dr. Griffith reads aloud from Lizzy's new journal. At that moment, Terrence flies in, landing beside Tinkerbell with a grin. "Well, looks like I missed quite an adventure." Tinkerbell laughs. "You sure did." The fairies giggle, the sunlight sparkles through the trees, and for the first time, both humans and fairies share a peaceful summer morning together. Because when you truly believe in magic, it finds a way to be real. And that's how faith turned into magic once again. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more beautiful stories.